What's up, my fellow ninjas? Greenninjatale here, and today we'll be reacting to Game Theory FNAF Thanks for the Memories by the Game Theorist. Oh boy, it's MATPAT'S final FNAF theory. Damn, it's crazy on how many FNAF videos he's done, but he's at the final one, I guess. So yeah, but anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, the original video will be in the link in the description down below. Make sure to go subscribe to the Game Theorist, and yeah, without further ado, let's begin.
Well, loyal theorists, this is it. This will be my final FNAF theory.
Oh
this
boy.
Time, I mean it.
Oh my god, the old Game Theory intro. Oh, hi Michael. Oh, isn't it? It's like a callback from when he did his first FNAF theory. I think the intro was corrupt. I don't know if it was the first one.
The end is nearly at hand. The pieces are in place for you. You missed it last week. Look
What?
at the green and remember everything I taught you. Remember, dates are important. Remember the...
Wait, FNAF 87? What? Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is his last FNAF theory, not his, there's still like 2 theories remain.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory.
Oh.
A show that, by my count, has had no less than 10 final FNAF theories. At this point, it's
exactly
become its own meme. But this time, it's no joke. After 66 theories, 3
Damn!
talkback,
66 theories? Oh my goodness.
and 1 banging remix.
exotic.
Like Butters.
Make that 2
Great.
remixes.
Music
My
Man.
coverage of Five Nights at Freddy's. After this, there's only 1 final game theory.
Oh.
Then the curtain closes on my time as host, and Tom will have to step into the spotlight. Hope you're ready for the challenge there, Tom. Tom?
Toy bunny, Easter bunny, chocolate bunny,
Great.
chocolate bunny, withered bunny.
He's trying to learn the FNAF lore. Yeah, get used to it, buddy.
Blackheart bunny, rockstar bunny, glam rock bunny, sunken toy bunny, bonbon, just bon, system error bunny, nightmare bunny.
Well done, but how
Great.
many toes does he have?
2, no, 3, 5.
Again,
Great.
the first step of FNAF theorizing. Slowly losing your mind.
That's true. That's true. Losing your mind.
I think he's gonna do just fine. You know, I did consider making my final theory about FNAF, but I actually have something really special planned for that one. So special,
Okay.
in fact, that we're gonna be doing a premiere for it on this channel next Saturday, March 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.
All
We're gonna have
right.
some fun. You guys will be able to chat with me live as that video releases. And who knows? There might even be some secrets to find. And most importantly of all, I
Oh,
get to say my final
secrets?
goodbye and
Okay.
Thank you to all of you for the last 13 years. So
Oh.
that's next week, March 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when that one goes live. Speaking of March 9th, just a quick reminder that that's also the final day of sales for my YouTube.
Ooh,
Once I
oh, he
retire
got a
as host on the
YouTubes?
9th of March, it too will retire and be gone forever. So if you do
Damn.
want this little piece of game theory history, or, you know, your own little psychic friend Fredbear, head on over to youtube.com or click the link in the description.
Psychic friend
to grab your
Fredbear.
MATPAT figurine and FNAF pins before they're nothing but a distant memory. Kind of like Dream Theory. But enough housekeeping, it's time to talk about FNAF. And let me tell you, I've
All
spent
right.
a long time thinking about this one. How do you end a series like this? Should I just do a normal theory about some minute detail? Doesn't really feel final, you know? Plus, I probably end
Is
up
he gonna recap everything about like the FNAF? Is he gonna do that? I don't
calling someone
know.
a robot, and then a bunch of people would get mad at me again. Should I read
Great.
the ultimate FNAF timeline as one final here's the lore? Well, that would certainly be big, but it also doesn't feel like that much was changed post Ruin and Help 1
Yeah,
and 2
that's
from what we
true.
did at the end of last year. So I didn't really want to be redundant either. You can see the struggle that I was facing, right? This episode
Yeah.
is a big deal to me. It is literally the end of my legacy with FNAF. And you see, that's when it hit me. Legacy. Typically, FNAF theories are born out of the small details, but what if I took a step back and looked at the big picture? What if instead of counting animatronic toes or dead kids,
Wait. What did that picture say? Rockstar Freddy, but you can call me Fred. H36 4 toes.
I
Great.
took a meta approach and just looked at the entire legacy of FNAF. I'm sure we're
Ah,
all
okay,
familiar
so
with
that's
the
what he's
butterfly effect,
doing.
right? The idea that a butterfly flapping its wings could cause the smallest of changes in the air, which could potentially lead to a tornado forming. Well, the term actually comes
All
from
right.
the research of meteorologist Edward Lorenz, who, back in 1963, decided to round some numbers in his data. He condensed one variable from 0.506127 to just 0.506. And yet, that tiny change right there completely threw off his computer's weather models, transforming sunny skies into violent storms. Hence
So is he gonna talk about like the legacy of FNAF, and if any, like, if it didn't exist, then what would happen or something?
Tornado
I don't
thing.
know.
This realization that small changes in data could yield such tremendously different results ultimately threw off science's entire understanding of nature. Before Lorenz, people thought that the universe could ultimately be predicted. Sir Isaac Newton back in 1687 famously believed in the clockwork universe, the idea that the parts of the universe worked like a machine, and that eventually if you understood how the parts worked, you could predict practically anything. French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace actually said basically the same thing. Eventually we would get to a place where nothing would be uncertain. And yet Lorenz showed us that one small change, one minor mistake or estimate or imprecise measurement in a complex system could have a domino effect at a massive scale, resulting in changes that you would never see coming. For example, in 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered that there was mold in his petri dish, but rather than just throwing it away or cleaning it up, he decided to study it, which then led to the discovery of penicillin, a life-saving antibiotic that could be used to treat meningitis, pneumonia, gonorrhea, syphilis, blood poisoning, and many others. Or if you want another example, you have the explosion of hip-hop music largely owing its origins to a random lightning strike in New York City. In 1977, a bolt of lightning put the city of New York into a 25-hour blackout. So what do you do for all that time that you're stuck in the dark? You loot and pillage, baby. New Yorkers started to ransack storefronts, including music shops full of instruments and supplies. Suddenly, expensive DJ equipment was in the hands of young aspiring musicians eager to experiment with hip-hop, which was a new genre of music just hitting the local scene. And thus, hip-hop was truly able to thrive. History is full of stories, from the foundations of medicine and music to even stuff as extreme as the origins of both World War I and II. Why do I bring all this serious stuff up in relation to Spooky Bear game? Exactly. Is one of those rounded variables. One decision by Scott Cawthon reshaped gaming, and YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
Entertainment world.
FNAF literally just blew the whole internet back when it first came out. Like, everyone was talking about it back then.
And that's not an exaggeration for effect. One man's decision to not give up, to try again in the face of rejection and adversity, literally shifted billions of dollars of the economy and affected hundreds of millions of lives in ways that are incalculable. And that is what I wanted to call attention to in my final FNAF theory. FNAF shows us that by not giving up, one person can have a profound effect on the course of history itself.
Right.
The origin story of FNAF's been talked about to death, but just to set the stage here, despite hitting it big with FNAF in 2014, its creator Scott Cawthon had been making games at that point for 20 years, since 1994. And yet,
1994, damn.
Scott had a fascination with creepy robots, working their designs into projects like the sci-fi Ifer Moon and the religious Pilgrim's Progress.
Oh, I heard of these games. I seen a video about his legacy, his older games, and that was a really good video.
What looks to be the first appearance of what would eventually evolve into the Mangle. But despite producing a lot of games,
Jumpman and the Desolate Hope.
Came Chipper and Sons Lumber Company.
This.
Initial reviews, what few there were rough. And as the story goes, it was the reaction to James Stephanie Sterling that would change the course of Cawthon's career.
Yo, imagine she never put a review up on the internet. Then that would mean like FNAF would never like. So she's basically the one that like, you know, started FNAF, I guess. I don't know.
It's just all over the place, and that thing looks like it's gonna kill your children. I imagine the phrase, "kill me," is stated over and over again in the world of Chipper and Sons. Oh, they're robot beavers. That's not good. I think he's the only living thing in this world.
This repeated criticism, plus the lack of financial stability, brought Scott down to his lowest. Ready to quit games, he decided to try one final time and lean into the thing that had been leveled at him.
Yeah, because people say, oh, this game is scary. It looks like robots. He took that criticism literally.
And time again, the creepy robotic animations. And thus, Five Nights at Freddy's was born. And that right there, that's gonna act as our nexus point. The one flap of a butterfly wing. The decision to make a final game instead of just giving up. Now, let's see how it all maps out from there. Let's start with just the obvious downstream effects of this. That one game, over the course of the last decade, has spun off into 12. Which honestly, I've never truly sat down and processed. But believe it or not, there are 12.
I think there's technically, like 3 more, because we got Freddy in Space 1, 2, and 3. And
All of
and
these
another
things,
game.
depending on how you count
Yeah,
them. The
that.
entire
Yeah,
franchise
those
has
games.
sold 9.9 million copies on Steam alone, which in total has an estimated revenue of $94 million. And that's not even
Damn.
including the console and mobile ports or the number of microtransactions for FNAF AR, which itself
Great.
had over 40 million downloads. It's also worth pointing out that of the $94 million, 55 million of that was just from Steam sales of Security Breach, because that one was actually at full price as opposed to all the others, which were either free
Damn.
or $4. And while the first 4 FNAF games were entirely a one-man job, the rest have included voice actors, composers, entirely separate game studios like Steel Wool and
That's
Lumix.
true.
And to this day, we're seeing this continue with studios like Megacat, who up until now have been focused on releasing games on retro consoles, very niche market, but that made them perfect to create the retro-style pixelated FNAF game.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait for this game to come
releasing later
out.
this year. By pairing up with these smaller companies that aren't insanely well known, Scott's not only been able to make bigger, better games, he's also been able to use his single game's success to put millions of eyeballs and millions of dollars into each of these companies. As a result of their
that's
work
true.
with FNAF, Illumix started working with Disney on features found throughout the parks. And if Steel Wool ever do release a game outside of FNAF in the future, you can bet that it's gonna have itself a fan base attached to it because people now know about them and they're gonna want to see what other work they can do. So that's on the
yeah.
game side, or at least it's on the official game side. But stopping there would be overlooking the much bigger impact FNAF has had on the games that haven't even been released yet. This one series inspired a whole new generation of game designers unlike any game that's ever really come before. All of them
That is so
brought their teeth to
true.
a genre that exploded in the mid-2010s, the FNAF fan game. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, if FNAF did exist, we would have none of this. And I don't know, we wouldn't have Markiplier would like be as popular, same as Corey, and even MatPat wouldn't.
Island, Five Nights at Wario's, Pop Goes, The Joy
Oh,
Creation,
the
Ghost
yep.
Nights at Rachel's, Afton Built, The Glitched Attraction, Bloody Nights Juniors, Day Shift at Freddy's.
Thanks.
Day Shift at Freddy's.
I could go on and on and on for days. Some of these were just for the memes, others were more
Yeah.
serious attempts at making games inspired by FNAF, and many of them were just taking the world that Scott had created and broadening it outward into the game that they wanted to see made. If you go onto Game Jolt, you'll find thousands of fan games, and I do mean thousands. If you search
That's
just
true.
for FNAF and select games, you're presented with 36 games per page and 277
Damn.
pages available. That is 9,961 games that are tagged using FNAF. And if you're sitting there thinking, hold on, the math there doesn't add up, you're right, good noticing. That's because I had to remove 11 of Scott's own games that were posted on
Oh,
that
yeah.
list. Though
That's
I'm
true.
pretty sure that there are some out there who'd like to pretend that FNAF World was a fan game. Each and every one of those 10,000
Great.
fan games represents a budding game designer, sometimes several. And while yeah, many of those creators are likely never going to pursue game design full time, there are some who will, either independently or as part of a bigger studio, going on to have their shot at creating their own mega franchise, their shot to transform the industry. And already you can see that some of these devs are finding success to the point where
Yeah,
many
that's
of them
true.
have created multiple different games at this point, turning their fan projects into full-on franchises of their own. And all of this is without even mentioning the Fanverse initiative.
Oh,
where
the
Scott invested
Fanverse.
money and resources into some of the most promising projects to help those fledgling businesses grow. Now, the success of that one is up for debate for various reasons, but the point ultimately
yeah,
stands.
because
Five
of
Nights at
FNAF
Freddy's
Plus.
has been directly and indirectly involved in the rise of a new generation of game developers. Developers that, just now, 10 years later, we're only starting to see get to a point where they're really influencing the wider gaming landscape. Except gaming, it's already
Yeah,
seen a
that's
massive
so
shift coming off the
true.
heels of FNAF. Prior to FNAF's release, if you took a look at any top 10 list about horror games, it would have been filled with games like Outlast, PT, Amnesia, games that leaned hard into psychological horror and sometimes graphic gore. FNAF, though, was different. While other horror games
yeah,
used
that's
the
true.
classic horror trope of not knowing what the monster looked like, relying on the audience's mind to fill in the blanks of what might be lurking in the shadows, FNAF put the monsters front and center, allowing them to be the star of the show like we see in movies like Friday the 13th and Halloween. This allowed FNAF games to be much more thumbnail friendly and easier to sell online compared to the spooky,
Yeah, that's
dark
true.
hallways or overcomplicated monster designs that dominated the horror space in the past. Mix in the more family-friendly scares of Freddy and the gang, and you've got yourself a brand new subgenre of content, mascot horror. as
Oh,
dubbed by
yeah.
YouTuber John
Yeah, FNAF literally made mascot horror.
This genre took old nostalgic locations and filled them with brightly colored killers brought to life through some weird experiment or trauma. Bendy and the Ink Machine, Poppy Playtime, Rainbow
Yep,
Friends, My
that's
Friendly
true.
Neighborhood, Hello Neighbor, Baldi's Basics, Choo Choo Charles, Amanda the Adventure, and of course,
All-
Garten of Band.
Gardenton a mid.
And that's not even
Sorry.
dipping into the hundreds of lesser-known titles like Joyville. It was FNAF who paved the way for all of these
I'm
games.
sorry.
Poppy sold 2 million copies in 2
Garden
years.
and Band Band
and
is just
made over
trash.
$30 million just off of its 2 major installments. Hello Neighbor is a thing that continues to exist. And
Exactly. Hello Neighbor just keeps trying and then they don't get anywhere.
People complain about oversaturation in the market at this point. There is no denying that the formula has worked extremely well for the better part of the last 10 years. But
That's
maybe you're sick
true.
of games. You want to read a book? Well, I hope you're excited to read the 7 Hello Neighbor books, 5 Bendy books.
Wait, there's 7 Hello Neighbor books? Damn. And Bendy has books too? I didn't know that.
Playtime Employee Handbook that's coming out later this year.
Oh,
Mascot
okay.
horror franchises now also line the shelves of your local Barnes & Noble. Why? Because FNAF did it first. Oh sure,
Yeah, that's
FNAF had
true.
done some video game book publishing in the past, mostly guidebooks and activity books, but after the success of the FNAF trilogy, they began to publish other video game books like Assassin's Creed Last Descendants, World of Warcraft
cool.
Travel.
Okay.
This led them to launch an entirely separate wing to their business, AFK, the video game specific book department. It's these guys who are publishing all the books that Tom is now gonna have to read.
Oh no, poor Tom.
No, it's impossible to know for certain that FNAF was the reason for all this. but
praying
given
for
it was
Tom,
often shown
bro.
At the top of articles for this new publishing arm at launch, and has sold 9 million books to date, with an average book price being about $10. That is $90 million infused into the historically struggling print publishing business.
Damn.
No wonder the first 6 rows of their website are dedicated to FNAF. But without AFK, it's easy to imagine a world where these other mascot horror games didn't get that chance, and all those
Oh,
writers
that
who
yeah,
now
that would
been
be
able to make
insane. Like imagine like a lot of other mascot horror didn't get this chance, like Bendy or Poppy Playtime.
living off of these
Damn.
franchises wouldn't be recognized like they are. I mean, take for instance Andrea Wagoner, who wrote the vast majority of Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex stories. She's now getting DM'd by fans asking for lore clarifications. Something I'm sure she
Wow.
never anticipated while working on her past writing.
Oh really? She writes the books? I thought like Scott like also wrote the books, but I didn't know it was made by another person too.
projects, like her dog how-to book, Dog Parenting, or Alternate Beauty, the story of a big girl with big dreams. Her words, not mine. The same thing is now happening with another struggling industry, movies. After
Oh,
spending
yeah.
8 years in production hell, losing directors, struggling with studios, and trying to nail down a script, Blumhouse eventually took the chance on FNAF, making the movie on a $20 million budget and earning back nearly $300 million. If you don't think
Damn, it was
Hollywood
a
is taking the
success.
of that when they are struggling to get butts in seats, you are wrong. You think it's a coincidence that 2 months after FNAF's release, Bendy announced his big screen debut?
Oh,
And while a
I cannot wait for the Bendy movie. That Bendy movie is gonna be fire.
Playtime movie was
hope.
already in the works with Studio 71, I can almost guarantee conversations with studios around it have shifted in
Oh
the
no, not Disney.
And who knows what other mascot horror games might end up with movies down the line.
I pray Garden Band doesn't get a movie.
And not only is it getting indie game movies greenlit, it's also reshaping film studio
There's no way
priorities. As they
Garden
continue to
Batman
fumble
will ever
around in
get
the
a
dark,
movie.
struggling to find ways to compete with online content, I've literally had conversations with people in the film space about how they're trying to tap into that FNAF audience, that online community. The success of this one film will be shaping the types of movies that get made and how they look moving forward.
Exactly, that's so
But while
true.
movie releases mean big bucks for big studios, the economic ramifications go way beyond just extra cash in the pocket of Jason Blum. The FNAF movie was shot in New Orleans, which, since Hurricane Katrina, has been an economically depressed part of the country. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but from speaking to local actors and business owners while I was down there filming last year, I learned that New Orleans actually has a long history in film production. When the state
Oh.
government of Louisiana first introduced tax breaks for film productions back in 2002, over 1,000 projects happened down there in
Oh,
the span of
that's
7
interesting.
years.
That's
Those
cool.
productions created jobs, hired locals, and brought millions of dollars back into the city. However, pre-COVID, those incentives were rolled back, and productions have now started to move to other places like Georgia. That's why so many of the local actors and business owners I spoke with while down there were eager to see the FNAF movie in town. By shooting in New Orleans, a huge chunk of that $20 million budget was going to accommodations, drivers, caterers, local talent, location rentals, equipment, and other general resources that help local businesses thrive, and maybe start a domino effect to get other movies back in the region. Regardless of all of that, the point is that this one decision to try one final game, it's grown beyond itself. It's no longer about
Exactly.
just making its own franchise full of games. It's spread to all corners of the media industry and to so many other IPs.
Yeah, that's what said. That's what I said. If this game never existed, we wouldn't have all this. We would, like MatPat would. I would have never heard of MatPat. I would have never probably heard of Mark, or Corey, or anyone else. They would just. It's just
creators,
crazy
spawning
to
a
think
wave of new
about.
franchises and giving life to so many careers that otherwise might not have had a chance. But speaking of careers, there's one final area that's also needing to be addressed. An area that has been so affected
YouTube.
by FNAF, it's crazy to not talk about. And that, of course, is here on YouTube. FNAF has done a lot of numbers for a lot of industries, but its effect
Right.
on the YouTube landscape is still visible to this day, and in a much more obvious way. When FNAF first launched,
Yeah, that's
it was
true.
just one of many games that YouTubers started playing because spooky games got big views. This game gave rise to some of the biggest names on the platform, names that are still going strong today. Let's players like Corey X Kenshin
And Mark,
who've
yep.
been on YouTube for a couple of years, but saw their careers accelerate in parallel alongside the FNAF releases. You also had a massive surge in nerd.
Oh, the Living
Like the
Tombstone?
Living Tombstone, whose FNAF song was at 1 million views in a couple of weeks, whereas most other songs they would release would have a few 100,000 views months after release. And machinima creators started using FNAF models and characters to tell their own unique stories long before the FNAF movie ever hit theaters, racking up literally billions
FNAF
of views.
animators and everything.
But what truly set FNAF apart were obviously the hidden details cluing fans into the bigger story. This, more than anything else, ignited the internet's passion like never before, giving rise to the theorist community. People like Dawko, Resbowski, Ryan, Rytoast, ID's Fantasy, Hyperdroid, John FNAF, and of course,
Hey,
us
you cannot forget Fusion. Do not forget Fusion, my boy
piece by
Fusion.
piece in order to find the hidden story within it. Now, contrary to popular belief, FNAF wasn't the first thing that actually had us creating lore theories. That was always just part of the channel's DNA. But before FNAF, we were coming up with lore theories for franchises where the story was basically well known. Whether or not Majora's Mask is an allegory
that's
for
true.
grieving, you get the story of a moon crashing down. Regardless of whether Peach is Rosalina's mom, you get the basic
Oh, I
premise
remember
of
that
Mario
theory.
Galaxy. Humans certainly might be Pokemon. That's not really affecting anyone's journey to become a league champ. But FNAF was different. It showed that games could be built off of withholding the lore and forcing the fan base to solve it. By leaving
Yep, that's very true. He's like, solve my game now.
open and never confirming anything, Scott allowed YouTubers,
Yep.
Redditors, and just general fans to continually assess and reassess the lore, find new directions, new hot takes. And that means that we're still theorizing about it to this very day.
Yep,
Can we
that's
fix it?
true.
Absolutely. Heck, maybe now that I'm retiring from the channel, I can track Scott down and get some answers out of it. But it's also entertaining. And the success of this
gosh.
theory-based model on YouTube has carried over into the mainstream, where now almost every game and movie release is designed with theory crafting in mind. While it's impossible to calculate the full scope of FNAF on YouTube, I was able to find that there are 106 videos with more than 10 million views each. Together, they total roughly 5.4 billion views on just their very own. And if we assume that they're getting the standard gaming CPM on YouTube, which is about $4.55, that then's a total earning across all of those videos of $24,570,000 in ad revenue.
Damn.
Markiplier's literally gone on record to say that the house that he lives in is the house that FNAF paid for. And he's joked on his Distraction
Great.
podcast about how lucrative FNAF's been for him.
Let's go into a fan favorite here. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Boo. So there's two ways I could look at this, right? I could look at it from the game purely by itself, or I could look at it at the dividends it is paid out for me specifically.
And that's put him in a position to pursue bigger and loftier projects like the With Markiplier series.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now his movie Iron Lung. One half of the Living Tombstone, Sam Haft, is
Yeah,
now writing
and
songs
Markiplier is getting his own movie, which I'm not actually gonna see
for
that.
internet sensations like Has Been Hotel. YouTubers like FNAF and Rytoast, they've been able to go full-time with YouTube, all thanks to FNAF. And heck, look at us. Because of FNAF, we've thrived. We've been able to grow
That's
our
true.
team, give jobs to dozens of people, and perhaps best of all, we've carved out our own platform that allows us to turn the spotlight onto a next generation of creatives, to make us tastemakers in the space that are able to pay it forward, to make you aware of projects that you should be playing and watching, from Cooking Companions, to The Man in the Suit, to Shipwrecked 64, Welcome Home, Mandela Catalog, Walton Files. The list goes on and on and on. In short, FNAF created an ecosystem where new IPs can thrive, a virtuous cycle that benefited itself, to be sure, but also had a halo
that's
effect on
crazy.
thousands of other franchises looking to get attention. And all of this is without even mentioning other trickle-down effects. Our large platform allowed us to run charity events like St. Jude, paying that blessing forward to help doctors and hospitals working on treatments for childhood cancer, where of course Scott himself was a sizable and direct contributor year after year. There were also dozens of
I
other
remember
charity
that
events
event.
coming from creators like Dawko, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Rytoast, John FNAF. Not only have these events been able to raise tens of millions of dollars for various organizations looking to do good work in the world, hopefully those events in turn inspired others, you out in the audience or other creators, to adopt a spirit of generosity and giving in their own lives. And again, it all comes down to this one decision. One guy who, in the face of adversity and criticism, chose not to give up. That is the millions of
Exactly.
people and billions of dollars affected by that one Spoopy Bear game. Thank you, Scott.
If Scott just like gave up from there, yeah, we wouldn't have all this.
into people and billions of dollars.
It's crazy to
invested
think
by that
about.
one Spoopy Bear game. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for.
Thank you,
And
Scott.
while all of this is cool and impressive and inspirational, it's also overwhelming, right? You look at the impact that one decision like this can have, and you feel like you can never live up. I know that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah,
But remember,
exactly.
It's all about small decisions making a domino effect. Just being kind to someone else, saying something nice, holding a door, listening to someone's problems, making them laugh. All of those are seemingly small things that can make a massive difference in the way someone's day's going. And
That's
that
true.
has always been the power of these channels. They're a place to learn a little something, a place to brighten your day in some small way, which then you can pay forward to other people in your life. And that positivity, it spreads. It spreads and creates real massive change. That to me, honestly, is the hardest thing about leaving these channels. Losing that chance to be a force of just a little bit of good in your life. But you know what? I'm not done yet. I'll see you one last time
Oh
next
my
week,
God.
March 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, as
His
I
last
celebrate
theory.
with you one final time as a theorist community. Until then, as always,
Oh my God,
remember,
I'm getting
it's
chills.
Just a theory.
A game theory.
Thanks for watching.
All right. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh my goodness. I guess, damn, that was it. His last FNAF theory. But we still have one more. He still has one more video to pull up, which coming on March 9th. Oh boy, I cannot wait to see that. And it's also just crazy how FNAF had such a big impact in like in gaming, in YouTube, and just everything. It's just so crazy to think about. Like without FNAF, none of that would have happened. It's just crazy. But yeah, but anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, if you did, leave a like, comment down below what video you guys want me to react to next. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in just later. Peace out, guys.